Hi everyone, Igor here. I want to do like an Igor Talks Wine episode, and the idea behind this, I want to kind of pick a topic and then give my thoughts on it, kind of my 2 cents. So a couple of days ago, Wine Enthusiast magazine came out with top 10 wines based on their searches. So they were the catalog was searched, and they came out with the top 10 wines that were searched in 2019. So I have that list open, and I have a little intro from Wine Enthusiast. All right, so they went through 1.6 million searches, and they compiled the most sought after bottles on Wine Enthusiast. The results were decidedly democratic. Just 2 bottles cost more than $25, and most searched wine of the year was $17 wine. Domestic bottles reigned supreme, with Cabernet and Pinot dominating the list. Yeah, and once you kind of hear the list, you'll definitely see that Cabernet and Pinot are dominating. Unsurprisingly, democratic. I think democratic in terms maybe of the price range that they're talking about, not in terms of nationality of wines. It is definitely a very nationalistic wine. I think, as I recall, every single bottle is domestic, which it's very interesting for me, where 90% of the wines that I carry are international. So all right, so let me go through the list. I'll kind of read over each list and kind of give my thoughts on it. Beringer 2017 Founders Estate Pinot Noir, $10 value, 91 points. I think it's a good value, for mass-produced wine to get 91 points. It's something that I would look at. This wine is just kind of found everywhere, so I wouldn't carry it in my store. But I can see why people are looking for this wine. Number 2, Meiomi 2017 Pinot Noir. This was a puzzler to me, because I think every single one of you who drinks wines knows Meiomi. Every big box store, grocery store, any store that sells wine, the second you walk in the door, you almost trip over this wine. It's $25 value, and it got 87 points. I wouldn't carry a wine that got 87 points for $25. I don't think you even carry a wine for $10 that got 87 points. But this is obviously a mega seller, so that's why it's on the list. I'm not sure why people search Wine Enthusiasts for this wine. I'm not sure, what they think they'll get. Like maybe their choice would be justified, for paying $25 for 87-point wine. I don't know. Puzzler to me. Number 3, educated guess. 2016 Cabernet, $20, 90 points. Finding a cab that got 90 points and only cost $20. That's a pretty good value. Number 4 is definitely a wine I would look for. William Salem 2017 Pinot Noir, retails $39, and it got 98 points. I mean, if a wine got 98 points, it retails below 40. That's definitely a wine that I typically search for. Carnivore 2016 Cabernet, $15, 86 points. Kind of the same thought process for me as on Meiomi. Not sure why you search for this wine. Austin Hope is definitely a wine I searched for. 26 Cabernet, $50, 96 points. I actually tried to bring in the 2015 vintage in, but it was already out of stock by the time I tried to order it. Paso Robles, known mostly for Syrahs and other Rhone varietals. They call them the Rhone Rangers. And they make excellent expressions of Rhone wines. In the last few years, a lot of their Cabernets have been getting really high scores, and I think Austin Hope is kind of leading the charge on that. Number 7, Mark West 2017 Pinot Noir, $11, 87 points. Another mass-produced wines you see like everywhere. Dark Horse non-vintage sparkling wine, $6, 90 points. Pretty good value, excellent value actually. All right, next one. Francis Ford Coppola 2016 Diamond Collection, $21, 91 points. Pretty good. And finally, Josh Sellers 2016 Cabernet, $17, 90 points. Josh Sellers, I just looked up the statistics on them. The overall brand, they sold $206 million in wine, which was number 6, I think, on the top 10 biggest brands. So it's obviously a wine that's mass produced and mass marketed and mass sold. Yeah, and 90 points, in mass production to get a 90-point wine for $17, that's good value. I mean, it really is. Here, I also have a little sheet from DeLong Company, and it gives like a few scales. So let me kind of jump through the scales. All right, so the 100-point scale, I think that's what everybody is familiar with. U.S. high school grading. That's which I think what everybody's familiar with that. So Robert Parker kind of brought that scale to wine judgment in late 70s, and then the Spectator took that scale and kind of made it popular. So here's how he defines the scale. So like 60 to 70 D below average, 70 to 80 average, 80 to 90 above average, 90 to 100 excellent. That's Parker scale. Wine Spectator changed it up a little bit. 70 to 80 an average wine with distinction, 80 to 90 a barely above average to very good wine, 90 to 95 an outstanding wine, 95 to 100 an extraordinary wine. And then Wine Enthusiast, which came after the Wine Spectator, they also kind of switched it up, the point scale. So for them, 83 to 87 is good, 87 to 90 is very good, 90 to 94 is excellent, 94 to 98 is superb, and 98 to 100 is a classic. So that's the scale. I read over the list, and here I have collected some of the wines that I used Wine Enthusiast to bring into the store. Kind of the same thought process. I think just like a lot of the people who were looking at the Wine Enthusiast searches, I kind of utilize them. But like I mentioned earlier, I look mostly for international wines, and because I think it's better values. And if you kind of if I go over some of the wines I have, I think you'll be able to maybe judge my thought process when I select wines. So the first wine is Idlewild. It's Arnaiz and Cortez blend from Mendocino. These grapes are these are white grapes that are mostly grown in Piedmont region in Italy. The region is mostly known for Barolos and Barbarescos, which made from the Nebbiolo grape. But these guys, Idlewild, they're trying to experiment something right here in Mendocino, and they're created, which I think it's a really great wine. So got 94 points from Wine Enthusiast. We sell it for $25, and it's made from interesting grapes. It's obviously not a Pinot and not a Cabernet, and I think you'll see that's going to be a common theme for my wines. Not a Pinot and not a Cabernet. The next one, here we go. Big Petit Syrah from Mettler, 94 points. I mean, this wine is deep color, Petit Syrah, make your teeth be blue, for the rest of the day. Same thing, retails at $25. And just the last two wines to give you in perspective to Meiomi, which also retails for $25. 94, 94, right? So based on Wine Enthusiast scale, 94 is right there, the break point between excellent and superb. Whereas Meiomi is the break point between good and very good. In my mind, there's a huge difference between good to maybe very good versus excellent to superb. So why would you want to buy a Meiomi when you could get these two wines, which are, granted, it's Wine Enthusiast, somebody's subjective opinion, but still, it gives you kind of a little perspective. So, you know, these are two wines that I think sell just as the second most looked up wine in Wine Enthusiast is, but I think they're significantly better values. I mean, they're better drinking experiences, in my opinion. Here we go. Brooks Riesling from Oregon. Also another 94-point wine. We retail it for $27. You know, I deem it as a great value. And there's, outside of, you know, being an excellent wine, I think the other aspect of this wine that I particularly like is that it's not mass produced, and it's actually the opposite mass produced. The wine, this particular blend, which is the Hopewell Vineyard Riesling 2017, is only sold through the winery. They have other wines in general distribution, but this wine is mostly sold through the winery. So I actually asked my distributor if I'm able to retail this wine from the store. You know, and I expected them to say no, but I was surprised that the winery agreed. And as far as I know, outside of the winery itself, I'm the only outlet that carries this wine. You know, and like I said, it's a Riesling, which is, I think, is a spectacular grape, but not a grape that a lot of people domestically drink, and specifically in California. You know, and I think California even has a marketing bias against Riesling because California cannot make good Riesling. You know, it's too hot. It doesn't have the weather or the soil to make great Rieslings. So it's not in their interest to promote Riesling. So, you know, it's in their self-interest to promote Cabernet, which is something they could make, you know, well when it's made well. It's not always made well, but anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Here's another wine from, you know, Central Coast. We're talking about, you know, in the vicinity of Paso Robles. So this is a 93-point Rhone blend. Like I was mentioning earlier, you know, that's kind of the specialty of that area of California. This wine retails for $22, and it got 93 points. You know, I think once again it's in that excellent range. Anything 93 or below, you know, from Wine Enthusiast, I could retail below 25. I deem as like a great value. All right, and then now we're gonna go international. You know, I use some domestic examples of finding good values outside of the Pinot and Cab range. I won't even say good values. Let me even kind of up the ante on that. Great values. And just about, you know, better than any value on the list that people search for from Wine Enthusiast. But now we jump into Austria. You know, if people do drink Austrian wine, most of the people know Austrians for their white grape Gruner Veltliner. But this is one of their domestic indigenous grapes, Blaufränkisch. I mean, it's definitely a tough grape to pronounce. You know, I had to practice quite a few times before I could pronounce it. Got 92 points from Wine Enthusiast. We retail it for $22. This is a grape from Südburgenland, which is a tiny appellation in Austria. And this producer, Ulf Scheiber, is considered the master of the grape from that particular appellation. You know, and I think finding a wine that's got 92 points for $22 from one of the best winemakers in the region, it's a spectacular value. But it's a wine where you definitely have to kind of get a little more adventurous and just gonna say, I'm gonna try something different. You know, just, you know, instead of settling conservatively, maybe for like a domestic Pinot, try the same, you know, like light-bodied wine from Austria. Maybe this could be your next favorite wine. You never know until you try it. So, you know, that's kind of my 2 cents on this wine. And I'll give one more Riesling. This is a producer I love, St. Urbanshof. I've carried 3 or 4 of their wines. People who tasted some of their wines love them. This is, I think, maybe my best-selling Riesling that I have. And one interesting aspect about this wine is this is kind of entry-level old vine 2017 Riesling. Wine Enthusiast put this as one of the top 100 wines of 2019. got 90 points and retails for $19. And you know, like I said, I think it's a spectacular wine, spectacular value, and I think you know, Riesling is something that, you know, if you're in California, you're kind of used to it being mispromoted as, you know, maybe too sweet or too cloying. I think as a general statement, there could be nothing further from the truth. I think at its best, Riesling is the most dynamic wine grape in the wine world. I think it's more complex than, you know, some of the great Nebbiolos, some of the best Cabernets, which, you know, at their best, they're also spectacular wines. But those examples of spectacular wines cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. You could get spectacular examples of Rieslings for a fraction of that price point. So, you know, this is kind of my 2 cents of what people search on Wine Enthusiast versus what I search on Wine Enthusiast and what I think are, you know, good values. So, you know, thank you for listening, and remember, drink different. Have a good day.